Hey everybody, it's Dirk91, and today I've got my review of Halo 5 Guardians Beta. Uh, so, first thing I want to talk about is uh, mainly the issues. I'm going to start off with the issues, but I'm going to talk about everything I like as well. So we'll start with all the issues I've got. So, first things first, I think the kill times are just a little too high for what the game really needs, or like what Halo has always ran. Um, I mean, they're okay in the sense of like a one-on-one. They're just fine, and you do need higher kill times because in Halo 5, the pace at which players move and the gameplay is sped up because of all the extra stuff that's been added in now. It is understandable to have a higher kill time or a very fast kill time in general. But whenever you get in the situations where you're one lone guy and you run into two or three or the entire enemy team and they all just go, you, there's nothing you can do. You are dead. Unless you run like a pansy, you are not going to even begin to win that fight. It's not possible. It's just going to be you dying. And that's pretty much it. So, that's the first thing. Second thing is, I think the frag grenades are a little bit overpowered. Their area of effect seems to be a decent size, just a bit too big, but the drop-off rate of damage to distance just doesn't seem to exist at all. Therefore, when you take a grenade at your feet, you lose all your shields and half your health. But then when you take a grenade, let's say 10 feet away, you lose all your shields and quite a bit of your health. Not half, but a good chunk still. It's just like there should have been more of a difference in how much that damage you should have taken. It's just really shouldn't have been that. And along with that, the grenades are really hard to see. Visually and audio, because it's hard to see it because there's so much ambient noise that meets the same type of sound effect that the grenades have, and the same with the visual effects, because some maps have like little sparks on them, which matches the frags. As far as like the sticky grenades, I've not even had any trouble noticing those at all, so they seem to be just fine, other than the fact that they're still weak as heck, have no AoE and only do damage if it's at point blank range. I miss the Halo 3 sticky grenades, where you used to be able to stick one guy and then have the main bunch of the most of the team in one general location, and then they all died. As where now they literally have to be standing on top of each other, and that's not going to happen. Next thing is the automatics do seem to be OP. I kind of noticed in the later half of the beta, more towards the end here, I've noticed that it seems like the BR seems to be doing better against ARs and SMGs, but the biggest issue is the fact that because flinching is in, it seems like there's a lot of you flinch way too much, which 343 has already said they're going to get rid of flinching in the actual game. They're not going to have flinching in, so that's not going to be a problem. But as far as the beta went, it was a serious issue, because trying to shoot somebody with the BR while having flinching going on with every bullet hitting you, it caused some serious issues. You couldn't really aim all that well because you're constantly getting sprayed with bullets by the SMG or the AR. Another thing is Smart Link. I don't know how I feel about it just yet. That's okay. I'm kind of okay with it, but at the same time, it kind of makes the AR more overpowered, because you can Smart Link in, and there's no bloom on that reticle. There's a little bit of recoil, but there's not quite as much as there needs to be, and it really should still have bloom when scoped, so that way it helps balance that out. A big issue with the beta is the spawns. Oh my god. Spawns were so bad. I mean, unbelievably bad. I can't tell you how many times I actually spawned into enemy gunfire. As soon as, I would, die because 3 guys rolled into a room on me, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, I know I can't beat that. There's 3 guys with BRs. They're going to shoot me in the face and I'm going to go down. There's nothing I can do about that. And then I respawn and, oh look! They're already shooting at me again. How lovely. So yeah, that happened a lot. The spawn system was terrible. Just terrible. Another thing. The new Spartan ability with the shoulder charge. It's okay, but it seems really inaccurate. I mean, and then the reaction time, the regroup time after you actually do the charge seems to be a little bit long, because by the time you come out of it, somebody, like the person you try to hit, could have easily gotten to the point where he could kill you. Like, you'd almost be dead at that point. You wouldn't really stand a chance unless you got a lucky frag grenade throw with a headshot right before you would die. That would literally be the only thing that can actually save you, or they have to be a completely terrible shot. In regards to melee, melee seemed extremely ineffective, because unless you were at point-blank distance, it didn't seem like it even remotely began to make contact with anybody. There was like no lunge melee distance at all. Now with you have the sword, of course there was lunge distance, but with a normal melee, it did nothing. It just felt like there was no aim assist to the melee like Halo's always had, and there was no lunge distance like Halo's always had. It just seems like quite a bit of it was just missing. And on a note as well with melees, because of all of that, it made assassinations kind of hard to pull off, because you just couldn't get close enough to do that melee without people realizing, unless they like walked around the corner on you and you were hiding and they didn't know. You know, something classic like where you would do the old assassinations like from Halo 2 or Halo 3, where you smack them in the back and that'd be it. Another thing is Breakout, just like the new game types. Breakout and Stronghold. Stronghold, in my opinion, seems to be pretty decently fine, actually. I mean, I played a game or two of it, and it was actually pretty fun. I mean, I didn't have no trouble with it. I enjoyed it. It was a lot like Territories from Halo 3, and I was okay with that. As far as Breakout goes, no motion tracker, no shields, kind of starting to feel like SWAT, but you don't die from one headshot, but you do die from barely being close to a grenade, because frag nades are OP. And yeah. Also, with the way the maps were set up, you only had one AR and one BR on each side of the map, and then some frag grenades spread throughout somewhere in the middle, and that just, oh god, that got overpowered. I mean, if someone got a hold of the BR that couldn't use it, it was trouble for your team. The same goes for, like, the grenades. If someone got to those grenades before you could, or your team could, they would just rain them down on you, and you die, because it's... These maps that they have for the beta are very small, close quarters maps, which are fine, but when you get OP grenades that don't allow you to get away from them very quickly, because it's such an enclosed area, that's when they become overpowered. And that's one thing that makes me worry about big team is like, let's say the high kill times. When you got 8 people pointing at like one dude at the same time, in all past Halos, yeah, he was in trouble unless he like somehow got out of there all of a sudden. You know, hopped in a vehicle and drove away, or popped behind cover. But in Halo 5, with the high kill rates that you can get, the high kill times, I don't think it's going to be possible for one person to even remotely walk out into the open to go somewhere. They're like literally going to have to tread around the outside of the map in cover just to go anywhere. That's one thing that really does worry me about the high kill times. That's my main concern. Another thing is with Breakout, the way the rounds were set up was, you know, once your team won 3 rounds, really the game should end, because forcing the enemy team to keep playing is just kind of a dick move, because there's most likely no chance they're going to win, because they've already lost 3. Now, yes, if they win 1, it's going to extend it to like 9, 10 rounds, something like that, to give each team a chance to possibly win. You know, like they might be able to pull something out. But at the same time, really, they should just keep it short and compacted, because if you're gonna have it to where you have to win so many rounds, it just needs to be, this is how many rounds you need to win. If you do not get a win within the first 3 rounds, then it should just end. It should just be, that team already won 3 rounds out of the original 5, you forfeit. It's just how that should go, because making people that can't work well as a team forced to play continue, in a game that's already not going their way, is just going to ruin their fun. They're not going to enjoy that game whatsoever. And I had that experience my very first time with Breakout. I had to play 5 straight rounds of nothing but getting dominated, because I didn't quite know what was going on. But at the same time, once I figured it out, and by about the 3rd round, my teammates were absolute garbage, and were not killing anyone. I was the only one that killed anybody, and it was horrible. Another thing is the Hydra. Yeah, the new weapon, the Hydra, that they had on Gret. It's a nice idea. It reminds me a lot of the missile pod from Halo 3, but at the same time, it really sucked. I'd rather have the missile pod back. I mean, it was... I'm just gonna leave it there. Hydra sucks. Scrolling through my forums here where I've listed stuff. And then another thing with Breakout is whenever time gets low in the round, because the rounds are decently short, they're not too extremely long. I mean, they can end quickly, but at the same time, they can take really long, because sometimes you get a team member that knows how to hide where to sit to not really get noticed, because there's no motion tracker and all that. I've noticed sometimes the round gets to the very end, and I've had a moment where I actually was I was the last guy on my team, and it was 2v1, and I took out one dude, and it went to 1v1, and it said duel, and then it said 10 seconds remaining, and then it got to the point where I was just about to kill the guy. Me and him were shooting at each other with SMGs, and when I killed him, it had just ended. The round had just ended, and then the final bullet hits him, and he drops dead, and I'm like, ah! When it gets to the last 2, it should really get extended, like another minute or 2 or something like that, so that way they can have time to actually fight. So as far as that goes, that's pretty much the bad stuff. The good stuff is the clamber and the thruster pack. All that stuff is freaking awesome. The new Spartan abilities are great. Fair starts is good, and the clamber just helps the game flow seamlessly. I mean, I really, really liked the beta, other than like the major overpowered feeling of some of the issues, and I'm really hoping that 343 will actually have another beta later on, maybe sometime around September, because this game's most likely going to be a November release. I would love to see a late beta in September, and get some hands-on experience with a updated version, so we can give 343 some more information on how to make the game better, bugs and issues. Like, for instance, the shield meter. I haven't talked about that yet. The shield recharge meter, if you sprint, it resets it. It should pause, so that way you can stop and it'll resume, so you can actually sprint and then stop and then sprint and stop and get your shields back. And it's that way it doesn't take nowhere near as long, or at least whenever your shields are not popped, if you start sprinting while your shields are still there a little bit, they'll recharge without having to wait for that meter to go down anyway. Or at least it won't get paused because you're sprinting. That would really help. But that's the end of my review. I would probably give this a 3.9 out of 5 because of the issues, but it's close to being really, really good. So with that said, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.